Hi folks, time to choose my science fiction TBR for September 2024, and as usual we'll be using the bingo balls of fate to determine which shelf I choose books from, and then we'll be using the decision die of destiny to decide which book on that shelf I will be reading. So without further ado, let's go. Right, let us see what the bingo balls of fate have in store for us this month. Shelf 31. Okay, shelf 31 is right at the top here. Again, it's a little bit of Paul McCauley and a bit of Chris Beckett, and behind there, I don't know how well you can see that, I've read all the Baxters, is some John Varley that I haven't read. So I'm going to pick, without actually picking it because it's too high up even for me, I'm going to pick the John Varley Steel Beach. And then I think that's number one. Number two, I think, is this, I've read Beyond the Burn Line, so that's the only Macaulay on this shelf that I haven't read. So that's number two. And then I think I'm going to go with some Beckett short stories, so that's 3 and 4. And then Marcher, that's number 5. And I think I'm going to go with Tomorrow, which is his most recent book. This is number 6. So Steel Beach number 1, Pascal's Angel number 2, Turing Test number 3, Springtide number 4, Marcher number 5, Tomorrow number 6. Okay, let us see what the Decision Dice of Destiny has to say. Okay, Decision Dice of Destiny for shelf 31 is number 6. So number 6, so it isn't Steel Beach at the top there, it's not Pascal's Angel, it's not these two short story collections, it's not Marcher, but it is Tomorrow by Chris Beckett. Jolly good. Shelf 12, which is one of my A format / vintage shelves. So this is shelf 12, the last of my mass market paperback shelves. So I don't fancy David Webber this month. James White, I hear, is pretty good. That's short stories. Go with some Jack Williamson. Robert Charles Wilson. BIOS is meant to be pretty good. I could go with The Island of Dr. Death and Other Stories. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the only post-World War II Wyndham I haven't read is The Outward Urge. So that can be number 5. And I think for number 6, I'm going to pick Neverness, which was a 1990s tale. All right, very good. Let's see what the Decision Dice have to say. Okay, Decision Dice of Destiny for shelf number 12. Number 4. So number 4 is not the James White, nor is it Jack Williamson, nor is it Robert Charles Wilson, nor is it, unfortunately, The Outward Urge, although I might just sneak that in audiobook anyway. It's not Neverness, but it is The Island of Dr. Death and Other Stories, which is short stories. 42, Life, the Universe and Everything. Handily, there's a few books piled up here that I haven't read. I've read all of those. I haven't read that or Sea of Rust. Now then, let's give Aaron a chance. So that is a self-published author that sent me a copy, so let's have him up there. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then I think I'm going to go with Snow Crash and Pluto Shine as 4 and 5. And then for number 6 over here, let's go with The Passage. It's a bit of a chunky one, but I gather it's an easy read. Okay, let's see what the dice has to say. Decision Dice of Destiny for shelf 42 is number 4. So it's not Jemison, nor is it Sea of Rust, slightly disappointingly, nor is it, sorry Aaron, Ruins of Ivy. Number 4, so it's not Pluto Shine, sadly, or The Passage, but it is Snow Crash. So very much could be worse. I hear that's very good. I'd like to read it. Number 4. 38. Well, shelf 38 might be a mulligan. There's some Stephen Kings, which I don't really fancy at the moment. I've read Fire and Blood, and I've read Lord of the Rings many times. I haven't actually read these Dr. Rose or the Silmarillion, but I'm not sure I'm ready for those this month. So that's a mulligan. So that means I have to find something from an author that I haven't yet read on my list of shame. There's quite a few people on my list of shame, but the one that springs to mind in the moment is Stanislav Lem. And the one that I probably should read is Solaris, of course. So that can be my mulligan. 25. So this is shelf 25. So let's see. There's a few to choose from here. I'm going to pick Farseer as number 1. I wouldn't mind reading the Numenon, but this is the third of a trilogy. So let me see. I could go with the Haldeman, The Long Habit of Living, and then one of these R.W.W. Green, 25 to Life. Let's go with that one as choice number 3. So Haldeman was 2. And for number 4, I'm not sure I read The Forge of God. I might have done. If I did, it's a long time ago. So we'll go with that as number 4. Number 5, I think we'll have John Harrison's Light, and then Escapology by Ren Warham. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, decision dice time. Okay, decision dice of destiny for shelf 25. Number 4. Number 4 for the shelf then, so it's not Farseer, it's not the Haldeman, it's not the Green, nor is it M. John Harrison's Light, or is it Escapology, but it is The Forge of God. I'm quite pleased about that. I was looking forward to that. 56. Now then, shelf 56 is mostly Alistair Reynolds, nearly all of which I've read. There is The Infinite Stars, which is a short story anthology. There are a couple of, like, I don't believe that I've read Galactic North, or I think we can just about cobble 6 together here. So I'll have Infinite Stars as number 1, 2, 3, 4, haven't read those, and 5, I haven't read Galactic North. At least I don't think I have. I've read everything else, and some of them quite recently. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's have Revelation Space. Oh, I have read it, but many, many years ago, and I'm very much overdue a reread. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for Galactic North. I was going to take a mulligan on this shelf, but I'm pleased I've thought about it a little bit. So decision dice time. Decision dice of destiny for shelf 56 is a 5. So it's not Infinite Stars, nor is it any of these short story collections or Galactic North, but it is Revelation Space. Happy days. I should be happy to reread that. 29. 29 is down here. So I've read the Pullmans, and I don't fancy any of the Stephen King, so it's another mulligan. So another author to pluck off my list of shame. So as I said before, there's plenty of authors on my list of shame, but the one that springs to mind after Lem is Thomas Dish. Let's see. So I've only got a few. I could go with 102 H-bombs, or Under Compulsion, or The Genocides. I mean, it's the best known one probably. I'm going to go with The Genocides, which is a grisly end of the world tale. Lovely jubbly. 34. Shelf 34 is next, which is this one here, which has got, it's a little bit stacked. I'm going to just move those for a second. So shelf 34, I think we're going to have Ian Watson, short stories, I believe. And then I've read Luna, and I've read Desolation Road. I haven't read Chuggar, nor have I read the Peter Watts short story collection here. And then of the 4 that were on this shelf that I just moved, I think I'm going to have, there's 3 on the other shelf. So I think I'm going to go with 4, 5, and 6 being The Difference Engine, Cathani, and Empire of Fear, which is a vampire tale, if I remember rightly. Okay, decision time again. All right, decision dice of destiny for shelf 34. 6 again. Interesting. So having thrown a 6 then, it's not Ian Watson or Ian MacDonald. It's neither of the Ians, nor is it Peter Watts over here in the corner. It's not The Difference Engine or Cathani, but it is The Empire of Fear. Interesting. That's good. I've been wanting to read that for a little while. Okay, I'm going to allow myself 2 readers' picks this month, and then we'll see how we get on. I'm going to, despite the fact it missed its chance in the random selection, I'm going to go with Pluto Shine, because I really want to read that. So that's number 1. Then I think I'm going to double the number of Paul Macaulay books that I've read by choosing one of these. So War of the Maps is the one that I think I'm going to go with. Excellent. Right, now that that's all done, let's take a little fly through the books that I chose in no particular order. First up is Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson, who's an author that I enjoy. This is one of his cyberpunk novels from the early 90s, I think, 1992, 93, that sort of time. So before the internet really got going, and this talks about the metaverse, and there's hackers and computer viruses and the like, and I believe a bit of skateboarding and pizza delivery. I hear from somebody whose judgment I trust that it's very good, so I should look forward to that. I generally like Neil Stephenson, so that should be an easy win. And then a reread for me is Revelation Space by Alistair Reynolds. I have read it probably more than once, but I haven't read it for a long time. Could easily be 15, 20 years, 15 maybe. So I shall look forward to getting stuck into that. If I can find it an audiobook, I'll probably do it an audiobook. If not, obviously I'll have the physical copy in this rather handsome US first edition. And then what I think is a first time read for me is Forge of God by Greg Bear. If I have read it, it was a long, long time ago. I don't think I have. Certainly I don't remember it, so it doesn't really matter if I did or not. And this is a story of first contact / alien invasion / wanton destruction of the human race. And there is a sequel, Anvil of Stars, as well, which I also have. I generally like Greg Bear's writing, although it has been a while since I've actually read anything by him. I've been slowly building up my little collection of his work in hardback. So looking forward to that. Should be good. And then one of my mulligans off my list of shame. So I've picked, this is an omnibus edition, but I've picked Solaris. It's maybe the obvious choice, but I haven't read it. Obviously, it's a classic, so I'd be happy to add that to my list and see if I get on with him as a writer or not. And also, I have read some of, at least the first couple of the Hooded Swan books. Yeah, this is a later book from Brian Stableford. It's from the late 80s, and this is a tale of a vampire aristocracy. It's an alternative history where Europe is run by blood-sucking vampires, and the mortals among us are there to do their bidding / provide food, I imagine. So the story begins in the 17th century in London and then goes through ultimately to the 1980s. More than that, I really don't know. But it's vampires, it's Brian Stableford, and it's an alternative history, so I'm a happy camper. Continuing my Chris Beckett streak with Tomorrow. I think this is his most recent book. I'm not aware of one out since this one. This is from 2021. He does have another book on the go, I gather, but it's not out yet. And I don't know much about this. Of the books of his that I've read the Eden trilogy, and I have read Beneath the Water Sea. I've enjoyed very much, and particularly his world building. And this is about an author that has taken time out of life in the city to live in a cabin by a river and write a novel. So it's a little bit meta. So it's a book about somebody writing a book. And what I'm anticipating is a slightly kind of dreamlike, sort of fuzzy reality. We shall see. And then from my mass market shelves, Gene Wolfe. I've read The Book of the New Sun, but that's all that I've read of his. The Island of Dr. Death and Other Stories and Other Stories. And I think it's a slightly odd title, but I think that's because the first story in here is called The Island of Dr. Death and Other Stories. And then there are other stories. And there's about 10 or 12 stories in here. So hopefully I'll make reasonably quick work of that. Gene Wolfe's writing is usually excellent, based solely on my experience with Book of the New Sun a couple of years back. And then another off my list of shame is Thomas Dish, The Genocides, which is a cheery tale of death and apocalypse and the end of the world and alien invasion, all of the above. This came up in a recent video that I did on the end of the world in science fiction, and I haven't read it, so looking forward to that. And then my two readers' picks for this month were Pluto Shine by Lucy Kissick. This is a book I've only acquired recently, but I'm looking forward to it. I've heard good things about it. This is the first book that she's written. There is another one on the go. There was a rumour that she wasn't going to write anymore, but there is another one that's coming out fairly soon, I think. She is a proper scientist, a nuclear chemist, I think. This is a tale, a sort of terraforming kind of Pluto, funnily enough. Another recent acquisition, War of the Maps by Paul Macaulay, is an author that I really want to get more under my belt of. I've only read one of his books so far. It's a recent one, Beyond the Burn Line, and this is not that old. I think it's a few years old, maybe 5 years. Yeah, this is from 2020, so it's not that old, and it's set in the very far future on an artificial world, and it involves maps, and I do like a good map. I don't know if there are any maps in the book. That would be too much to hope for, I suppose. No obvious maps, which is a pity. I know they're sometimes frowned upon, but I do like a good map. So anyway, that's a pretty good TBR for September. I may be able to squeeze a few extras in as we go. I'll probably be able to jam a couple in on audiobook. I expect I certainly have during August. But what do you have planned to read during September? Are you just a mood reader? Do you just see what takes your fancy as you finish a book, or are you a planner? Do you have something planned out, and how far in advance? I know there are people that have their TBRs, at least the bones of it, planned out a year or two in advance, which is something I can't quite comprehend. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye for now.